Britain's prisons are full to overflowing. There are currently over 87,000 people incarcerated, with the aim being rehabilitation and release. However, there are a small number who are so dangerous they will never be released. According to the Ministry of Justice, at the end of June 2021, there were 60 whole-life prisoners in England and Wales. This group of 58 men and 2 women includes serial killers, psychotic sadists, torturers, and more. Some of their faces are familiar, others are known by their nickname given to them by the press. However, there are many you may never have heard of, and Anthony Arkwright may be one of them. He brought terror to the streets of South Yorkshire in a 56-hour killing spree in August 1988. This is one of the most disturbing cases I've researched, so I warn you when I say viewer discretion is advised. Let's get into it. Anthony Richard Arkwright was born in 1968 in the small mining village of Rath-upon-Dearne, South Yorkshire in the UK. He was the middle child of 5 siblings who were abandoned by their mother at an early age. Anthony spent most of his childhood in care homes and performed badly at school, which led to a life of crime, a 30-month sentence in Borstal and 6 months in prison. Anthony was described as cunning, a hustler, and devious. At the age of 21, he had his own council flat and drifted in and out of employment. He was a bit of a loner and described as looking like a young Clint Eastwood, wearing long coats, spiky hair, cowboy hats, and always had a roll-up hanging out the side of his mouth. Anthony had a fascination with murder and had a huge interest in Jack the Ripper and the Yorkshire Ripper, and even told his friends that one day he too would be as infamous as Jack the Ripper. Anthony was well known for falling out with people in his neighbourhood, one being Raymond Ford, who lived in the flat opposite Anthony, and the other being 25-year-old Marcus Law, who was disabled following a motorbike accident when he was 17. Anthony argued with both men on several occasions. One of Anthony's neighbours, Neil Hurst, said he often heard him arguing with either Raymond or Marcus, but thought nothing of it, until one day he went to Anthony's house and was shocked by the amount of knives Anthony had all around his flat, and decided it was best he leave. Raymond Ford was a 45-year-old retired school teacher. He was a heavy drinker and suffered from ill health, but pretty much kept himself to himself. Raymond and Anthony did not get on. In fact, Anthony was known to bully Raymond and had even put excrement through Raymond's letterbox. Raymond's flat had been burglarized. A microwave oven and a valuable antique clock were stolen. Raymond reported it to the police and told them he believed Anthony was the one who broke into his flat. A second-hand dealer had also informed the police that they had bought a microwave oven from Anthony for £20. On the morning of the 28th of August 1988, the police searched Anthony's flat. They found an arsenal of knives, some money, a pocket watch, which the police thought was odd, as it was a watch that usually older people carry around. The police arrested Anthony on suspicion of burglary and took him into custody. However, what the police did not know was not only did they have a thief in custody, but they also had a murderer in custody, as only hours earlier, Anthony had embarked on a brutal killing spree. He was released on police bail for a court appearance the following week. The night before his arrest, Anthony had gone to the club with his neighbour Neil and Neil's cousin. Neil told Anthony to meet him at his flat. When Anthony arrived, Neil was shocked to see him dressed in combat gear. Neil told Anthony that he wouldn't get into the club dressed like that and offered him some of his clothes. Neil knew something wasn't quite right. Anthony was in a strange mood. All dressed up and ready for a good night out, they were about to set off when Marcus Law pulled up in front of Neil's car in his wheelchair. Marcus was jokingly shouting at Neil and just having a laugh when Anthony said from the back of the car, "I'm gonna kill that bastard." Anthony's behaviour became more and more erratic as the night went on. He danced on the dance floor in a military-type fashion and was constantly bumping into and being aggressive with people and starting arguments, which eventually led to the three of them being kicked out of the club. Neil drops Anthony off to his flat. Unbeknownst to Neil, Anthony was now focused on his neighbour, Raymond. He knew Raymond had reported him to the police regarding the burglary and wasn't happy about it. As Neil and his cousin were entering the flats, they turned and saw Anthony pick up a metal bin and throw it through Raymond's window. Neil and his cousin didn't want anything to do with Anthony's actions and went home. Anthony entered Raymond's home and killed him in the most brutal way imaginable. Police would not discover Raymond's body for more than 48 hours. Another body would be discovered first. Neil went to see his neighbour and friend Marcus Law. He knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He then went round the back of the house and entered through the back door. He called out for Marcus, but there was no reply. He walked into the living room and saw something that made him sick to his stomach. It was Marcus' disemboweled body on the floor. Neil immediately knew it was Anthony and was afraid he would be implicated in the killing. As the night they all went out, Anthony had Neil's clothes on and they were all seen together at the club. Neil left and did not call the police. Marcus Law's mum was moving away for a new job and went to his flat at around 11:30 to say goodbye to her son. She knocked on the door, but there was no reply. Somehow she managed to jimmy open the lock. She walked in and discovered her son's mutilated body behind his sofa. His stomach had been cut open. His crotch had been pushed through his abdomen and was sticking up in the air. His eyes had been gouged out and multiple cigarettes had been placed not only in his eye sockets, but also in his nose, ears, and mouth. One of the officers described his head as resembling a birthday cake with candles. Marcus had also been stabbed 70 times. Anthony Arkwright was the chief suspect. He was arrested on suspicion of murder. Anthony admitted to knowing Marcus, but denied any involvement in his murder. Anthony seemed to enjoy being interviewed by the police and played many games with the interviewing officers. One of the officers was asked to step out of the interview room and was informed that another body had been found and believed it was in connection to the murder of Marcus Law. It was the body of Raymond Ford. PC David Winter had been going to Raymond's flat every day for a statement regarding the burglary. However, every time he knocked on the door, Anthony would appear and would make up stories as to why Raymond would not open the door. Concern now mounting, PC Winter once again went to Raymond's flat. He noticed the front window had been smashed. He climbed through the window and was met by a pile of cider bottles and newspapers. The TV and heating were on, but the lights were off. The police officer made his way through the corridor and saw blood on the wall and several unrecognizable objects on the floor. He opened the bedroom door and saw what he thought to be a pile of clothes in the corner of the room. Behind the clothes was a body, Raymond's body. The objects he had seen on the corridor floor were Raymond's organs. Anthony had stabbed Raymond over 250 times, plunging the knife into every part of his body. He removed almost all of Raymond's organs and scattered them around the bathroom, bedroom, living room, and corridor. He had used several different knives. However, the force Anthony used was so great that many of the knives broke. One of the knives was left in the body where the intestines had been. Although the attack appeared frenzied, it was not. It was a well thought out plan, as later, whilst being interviewed by the police, Anthony admitted to wearing a red devil mask and underpants while committing the crime, as he didn't want to leave any forensic evidence behind. Meanwhile, back at the police station, the police were still questioning Anthony. The officers had given Anthony a pack of cards to keep him occupied. Anthony picked them up and said he could read the cards and could tell the future. He began turning over the cards, and when it came to the 4 of hearts, he said, 1, you've got. 2, 3, 4 to come. At this point, Anthony was unaware that they had found the second body. However, now they had to find bodies 3 and 4. When Anthony was informed of the discovery of the second body, he laughed. The police now intensified their search for the bodies. However, there was a problem. The police had already had Anthony in custody for 92 hours and had 96 hours to either charge him or let him go. With only 4 hours left, the police arrived at Anthony's granddad's house. Anthony's granddad, 68-year-old Stanislav Padokas, lived with his housekeeper, 73-year-old Elsa Kronodite. They were both Lithuanian and came to the UK as refugees during the war. The police knocked on the door, but there was no reply. The officers borrowed a neighbour's ladder and climbed through an open bedroom window. It was obvious a crime had been committed, as the bedroom had been ransacked and the house smelt of death. The officers braced themselves for what they were about to find. They walked down the stairs and entered the kitchen, where they found Elsa's body with an axe protruding through her head. Anthony's granddad was nowhere to be found. A neighbour informed the police that Anthony's granddad had an allotment which was about a mile away from his house. In the shed of the allotment, the police found the body of Stanislav. Anthony had savagely attacked his granddad. He stabbed him in the neck, severing an artery and his spinal cord, rendering the old man almost instantaneously unconscious. He also attacked him with an iron bar, an axe, and hit him in the head with a 14-pound sledgehammer before locking his body in the shed. It had been said that Anthony had a deep hatred for his granddad, as it was rumoured that his granddad was actually his father, which means that he would have had relations with his own daughter. These rumours caused Anthony to be bullied and taunted every day as a child at school. The police found the rumours to be false. Anthony, now aware that all 4 bodies had been found, refused to admit to anything. It took almost 11 days of questioning before Anthony began to crack and eventually admitted to 3 of the 4 murders, but would not admit to Elsa's murder. It's been said that Elsa is the one murder he may regret. The death toll, however, could have been higher. Anthony approached a man between 5 and 6 a.m. one morning at a bus stop and started talking to him and asked him for a spare cigarette. The man said yes. Anthony lit the cigarette and walked off. He told the police that he wanted to add this stranger to his list of victims, but spared his life as he gave him a cigarette. His neighbor Neil also believes he had a lucky escape, as on the night Anthony had murdered Raymond Ford, he had also gone to Neil's flat and started banging on the door. Neil said he was about to go to bed, but Anthony kept banging on the door. Eventually, Anthony walked away. However, the next day, Neil was informed that Anthony had a large knife whilst banging on the door. The bodies had been found in the reverse order they had been killed. Anthony had been working at a scrapyard. However, on Friday, the 26th of August 1988, he was sacked due to a poor attendance record. This sent Anthony over the edge, and after his sacking, he went straight to find his grandfather and killed him. The pocket watch found by the police at Anthony's flat belonged to his granddad. He had stolen it after the murder. It was believed that Anthony's second victim was his grandfather's housekeeper, Elsa. He had killed her whilst he was in the process of taking his grandfather's savings of £3,000. She had been ironing at the kitchen table at the time of her attack. The bodies of both Stanislav and Elsa lay undiscovered for 6 days. On Saturday, the 27th of August at 3 a.m., Anthony entered the flat of his neighbor Raymond with a Prince of Darkness devil mask covering his face and stabbed him 250 times. He gutted and disemboweled the corpse with surgical precision, which criminologists later said was remarkably similar to the technique used by Jack the Ripper. On Sunday, the 28th of August, Anthony savagely butchered Marcus Law. According to Anthony, he had shared his cigarettes on many occasions with Marcus. However, when he asked Marcus for a spare cigarette, Marcus said he didn't have any. Anthony searched his flat and found cigarettes in the drawer, which made him angry. Anthony said killing Marcus was revenge for all the cigarettes Marcus had scrounged off him. Marcus was discovered by his mum on the 29th of August, 1988. Anthony was charged with all 4 murders. Whilst awaiting trial, Anthony smeared the walls of his cell with excrement in a dirty protest at not being recognised and revered as he believed he should be. After convincing police doctors that he was insane, he was transferred to Rampton Hospital in Nottinghamshire. Psychiatrists there determined that he was sane and fit to plea, with one doctor saying that Anthony was the sanest person in the building. The trial began in June 1989 at Sheffield Crown Court. In court, Anthony wore a jacket and a bow tie and waved at the journalist. He initially pleaded not guilty, which came as a surprise to all, including his barrister. The hearing was adjourned, and his defense team questioned his reason behind his last-minute change of plea. Anthony agreed to return to the courtroom on condition he was able to read a poem he had written. However, halfway through the poem, the judge stopped him. The evidence was overwhelming, and he was found guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder. The case against Elsa Chronodite was unproven, and the judge ordered the case to lie on file, which is when the judge agrees that there is enough evidence for a case to be made, but it was not in the public interest for prosecution to proceed. This is usually because the defendant has acknowledged often more serious charges. He was sentenced to serve a minimum of 25 years. However, his case was reviewed by the Home Secretary and was deemed so horrific that his sentence was increased to a whole life order, which means he will never be released. On the 19th of February 2014, Anthony Arkwright had the audacity to appeal against the whole life tariff. 3 court judges rejected the appeal, saying the government's whole life tariff was completely lawful. Anthony Arkwright is now on the list with the likes of Rosemary West and Levi Belfield. He is the youngest person in the UK to ever receive a whole life tariff, and thank God he will die in prison. Anthony Arkwright is a definition of pure evil.